If you find yourself in a situation in Colorado where you've reported domestic violence, here's some things that you need to know. First of all, an automatic protection order is usually put in place. That means they can't communicate with you. If you find yourself being stalked or harassed, or they're calling you or communicating with you externally outside of that, you need to make a report to the police. You can't make a report to the DA, they're not going to do anything for you.
Second of all, be prepared to be your own advocate. Bottom line is you'll end up having to do more work than you're expecting and more work than you probably should. Find yourself a domestic violence advocate, they'll help. Third of all, jurisdiction is a thing. It's not something that we think about if we're not particularly used to this kind of situation, but it is. If it happens in one county, then you need to report it to that county. Any reports made to an external county are just going to cause delays and cause headaches for you. Be prepared. The fourth point is the police departments and sheriff offices usually have domestic violence advocates. Utilize them, call them. Sometimes you don't get a lot of headway when you're working with the deputies, the investigators, or officers directly, so your advocates can be a bridge. They can also work with your official domestic violence advocate in your area. Utilize them. The fifth thing is proof. You need proof. The DA won't be able to prosecute or even take action if there's no valid proof. There's a lot of loopholes when it comes to protection orders and stalking in certain areas, especially if children are involved where court orders require exchanges or otherwise visitations. That being said, you need to make sure that you have recording, video or audio recording of the exchanges or the events that you're claiming. The state's DA for prosecutions has a very high threshold for burden of proof, so anything that you're claiming or anything that they're going to bring against your perpetrator or your abuser needs to be able to be clear-cut and concise. Familiarize yourself with the local laws in terms of recording, video, and or audio, and the environments in which you can do that. It's pivotal. The sixth thing, and this kind of goes along with proof, is that you need medical records. If there's an injury or if there's other kind of a report like rape or otherwise, you need medical evidence. The faster that you can go get that evidence, the better. Likewise, the same and even more importantly with children, if there's an internal injury, the likelihood that the DA will drop those charges against the abuser are very high if you can't prove it. The sooner that you go seek out medical care for those particular injuries, the better. Make sure you keep a log note. This is important. The seventh point is legal protections. Familiarize yourself and learn Bonnie's Law, Caden's Law, and Julie's Law. You'll thank me later. The eighth point is statute of limitations. All the crimes committed against you have a period of time before they can be prosecuted and they expire. They will all expire at some point in time. Make sure you identify what the crime was and make sure that it's reported in a timely manner. Even after the report has been made, follow up with your local law enforcement and or the DA's office to determine what needs to be done to move forward. Oftentimes in different rural areas, officers or agencies are overloaded, so you'll have to pull up more weight here than you're expecting or want to. The ninth point is paper trails. Paper trails, paper trails, paper trails. Making those reports is important. They all stack up and they add together eventually. That being said, keep a logbook of all of the agencies, officers, deputies, investigators, or otherwise that you speak to, including medical staff. Get a copy of your police reports and additionally keep all of your paperwork and medical records all safely stored. As you're keeping your logs, make sure you notate date, time, location, and the individual's name that you spoke to. This adds up really quickly, and if you don't, it can get really overwhelming. This is a way of keeping people accountable and being your own advocate. In some situations, it can even be utilized as evidence. The 10th point is when the DA prosecutes or if they decide to prosecute with your evidence, you need a victim's rights attorney. At the end of the day, the DA is working for themselves and they're not particularly working for you. So any kind of plea deals or arrangements that are made will be made with or without your participation or authorization or desire. That means that an unsightly or undesirable outcome may be the plea offer, and unless you have an attorney in your corner for that particular situation, it's not probably going to go out very well for you. The DA will do what they want. Your input is very limited, and it is only just an informative basis to you as the victim, and not particularly because you have a say.
In addition to being your own advocate and keeping tight records, be prepared that depending on the situation and the nature of the environment that you're working in legally, that those police reports could be used against you. Be fully prepared to defend them and have your advocates at hand.